All right. Thank you, everyone, for giving up a few minutes of your plan time today to jump on and talk about some vocab. This was originally going to be about doing some conferring with kids, but based on feedback and just things that I was hearing, people were wanting to go different directions. So I decided, based on what people were asking for, to spend a little bit of time just sharing three. You'll actually see four, but one of them is, once you see it, it's more of a first grade type of activity. But just share some ways that you can kind of bump up the vocab in your classroom. Nothing is going to sound too brand new or too unfamiliar if you've taken letters. I know a lot of you have experienced some of these activities before. But what I did is I went in and took some things from letters, some things from Benchmark, and then connected it to how we could use AI to make our jobs a little bit easier and faster. So I'm going to share just 3 quick tips, and then I'll share this resource with you and have some time for Q&A. So the first activity you may have experienced as part of letters or part of a vocab training is shades of meaning, or gradient of meaning is sometimes what it's called. And what this is this is an activity that is meant to help kids connect one vocabulary word with several other words. Some of them might be familiar words, some of them might be new learning words, but we know from the way the brain works that when we want kids to really know and own a word, knowing lots of synonyms or similar words or kind of shades of words that are close in meaning is going to be super helpful. So I went into, I'm going to have ClassLink pulled up. I went into Benchmark, and if you go into any of your units, I'm sure you know this is here, but just as a quick refresher, if you go into your Benchmark unit, and I'm using Unit 4, knowing that it's our upcoming unit at this point, if you click on underneath the unit resources, vocabulary development, you're going to see all of the vocabulary words for the entire unit. And for kindergarten, those are all listening and speaking words that you're going to expose kids to through the text that you're reading. Obviously, they're much higher level than what our kindergartners can read at this point in the year, except that 1 or 2 kiddos that come in just super strong. So what I did looking at these words is I decided that crash would be a word that kids are somewhat familiar with. You would still explicitly teach it, so tell the word, give a kid-friendly definition, go through that process. But as you're going through, you've read it in text, I want to do something deeper with it. I want to build more knowledge around that word. So I'm going to do an activity that's super fast, the gradient of meaning or shades of meaning. So I picked my word crash from Unit 4. I went to ChatGPT, and I just prompted ChatGPT to create a list of words with different shades of meaning or gradients of meaning for kindergartners with the word crash. So it even gave me teaching tips. Obviously, we want to use simple, concrete words. So it gave me 5 words with a different gradient of meaning for crash. They're words that probably our kindergartners know, but maybe they're not connecting together or seeing how they're different variations of a similar word. It even went above and beyond, and it gave me some hand motions or like physical movement things that I could do to illustrate each of the things. And then it was like, hey, do you want me to make a visual for you? Of course I did. So all I did was say, yes, please make that visual. And it made this really nice gradient of meaning for the word crash. So this will not only solidify the meaning of the vocabulary word that you're working with, but it's also going to help kids kind of concretely understand 4 other similar or related words. So that is one strategy you can do. I was impressed that ChatGPT threw together this very, kind of kindergarten friendly, except maybe the wave on the car. I might want to ask it to tweak that a little bit, but it was pretty super friendly and fast. Just quick explanation, and it even gave me those student-friendly definitions right out of the gate. So that's one thing you can do. There's a Canva activity that I linked in where you can also, this is probably definitely a little advanced for kindergarten, maybe more first grade, but having kids, take words. Obviously, if you were using this, you would want to have them spoken or have pictures, but you can have kids physically organize and manipulate words too. We talked with first grade about connected text. I had School AI make a text for kids to read that was mostly decodable, but also included vocabulary words. Knowing where kindergartners are developmentally, that would definitely not be appropriate. They do not have the reading skills to read most of the words that you're doing for vocabulary. So that suggestion lives out there if you have kids who are higher achievers in reading and you want to kind of push them. But for kindergarten, I would go more the direction of like an act it out. So I went in again to Unit 4 and noticed that a whole lot of those words are verbs. And they're not only verbs, but they're very active verbs. So one thing that I could do to reinforce these words toward the end of the unit, I've already taught all of them. One of the things I know is that often the word lives within the text or within the unit that I'm teaching it, and it doesn't come back out necessarily. So one way to bring those back out is to, I just dumped them onto a picker wheel. I took the words that I hoped most kids wouldn't be too violent with, although roared and spun might need a little bit of help. But this is something really quick as I'm transitioning, as I am, have just a minute or two. I can pull this up. I've got my words already on here. It lives for a year once I create it. So I can just spin my wheel and say, okay, my word is guided. Act out how it would look if you guided someone somewhere. Peeked. Act out how it might look if you peeked over a wall. I wouldn't necessarily have a right and a wrong answer, but just an opportunity for kids to see all these words, know that, again, we're categorizing them. They're all action words. They're all verbs, that things that kids can do. And then this is just, again, low prep, high impact. We are practicing the words that we've learned, and we're learning how to use them in some different ways. The last thing you can do that's also extremely important for kiddos is multiple meaning words. So these may not pop up in every unit, but there are a lot of words that we work with that have so many different meanings. I'm looking at your unit. Potentially, like there's a couple of words that could have different meanings. Pack, for example, and wolf pack might be a good one to work with. What we want kids to do is realize that there are words that we use every day, all day, but they can be used in different ways. So we have a wolf pack, but we also may have a pack that we wear on our back. We may have to pack our lunch for school. So words with 3 or 4 meanings are really good to kind of build and solidify the understanding that kids have of different words. So again, ChatGPT is super helpful. I took a word this is from a first grade unit 4. Watch was a word that came up in that unit. And I was like, you know what, there's a lot of different ways you can use the word watch. So I went to ChatGPT. I asked it to give me just the different definitions of the word watch. If it's going to cooperate for us. So again, my prompt is the word watch has several meanings. Tell me multiple meanings for the word watch. I actually didn't specify this was for first graders. It was really for me at first, but then it asked me, or I asked it, to just make a visual of 4 really common uses of the word watch. And so ChatGPT came up with this. I don't know that she necessarily should be smiling when she's watching the fire. I would probably point out that if you're watching something burn, you might be more startled than happy. But it gave me a very clear, concrete, quick visual to show to kids, this is the word watch. There are 4 different ways you might hear this word used. You might watch TV. You might wear a watch on your wrist to tell the time. Someone like a soldier might be on the night watch to make sure everyone stays safe, and you may have to watch out for something that might hurt you. So those are just 3.5, if you want to count connected text, just quick, easy ways to take the vocabulary work you're already doing and kind of strengthen it, come back and reinforce it, and make it even stickier for kids. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to drop this in the chat box. And then feel free to ask any questions or share any resources that you've come across that you really like using, or if there's anything you want to chat through.